Welcome to HomeFront SitRep. I hope you're in for a great show today because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront SitRep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront SitRep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting.
Still in the fight, different battlefield, same damn life. No spotlight shining on the ones who serve, just grief, sacrifice, and a whole lot of nerve. From small town shops to a helping hand, we're lifting each other, yeah, that's the plan. No red tape, no filter, no disguise, just truth in the fire, behind our eyes. This is HomeFront SitRep, hear the call, where the real ones rise and the fallen stand tall. Every voice matters, every story's legit. We're family here, this is HomeFront SitRep. From the shadows to the spotlight we step. Yeah, this is HomeFront SitRep. From the scars we carry to the lives we rebuild, from the weight of silence to the strength of will. Non-profits grinding, boots on the street, no headlines chasing, just mission complete. Veteran alone, still chasing the dream. From a mic to a message, we're building a team. Creators and fighters, yeah, we all belong. Turn the pain into purpose, turn the hurt into song. No politics, no games, no divide. Just warriors standing side by side. This is HomeFront SitRep. Hear the call, where the real ones rise and the fallen stand tall. Every voice matters, every story's legit. We're family here. This is HomeFront SitRep. From the shadows to the spotlight we step. Yeah, this is HomeFront SitRep. We don't forget, we don't walk away. We carry each other through every day. From combat boots to a boss to a seat, still standing tall, still hard to defeat. Real stories, real impact, real people. This ain't just a podcast. This is a movement. This is HomeFront SitRep, loud and clear, for the ones still fighting year after year. Every voice matters, every story's legit. We're family here. This is HomeFront SitRep. Yeah, we rise, we grind, no regret. Welcome to HomeFront SitRep.
Welcome, everybody, to a Monday edition of HomeFront SitRep. How is everybody doing? I am doing wonderful. Had a great Easter yesterday. That's why we didn't have a live episode yesterday. Got to go to Barstown, spend time with my mom and my aunts and cousins, and had a great time there. Left from there, went to my sister-in-law's house, and got to see their new house because they're building a new house. So we got to go there and see the new house. And it was super cool. And then we went out to Baskin Robbins, got some ice cream with the daughter's wife and my sister-in-law and her two kids and mother-in-law. It started a new kind of tradition for us, for them, for Easter. So it was super cool. Last week, man, I tell you what, last week was super busy with everything that's going on, planning for the Vietnam traveling wall that's coming here to Mount Washington, September 17th through the 20th. That's in full swing. We're getting our community partners together and figuring out the exact route that we're going to take for the wall when it comes in. Well, thank you, Marcus. That's actually the newest intro song that we have, but I do love the new one. But thank you for coming back, Marcus. How's your dad? I'm sure he'll be joining here shortly as well. Uh, so we were figuring out the escort for the wall. So we got an 80% replica of the Vietnam wall that's coming into town, and it also has the Cost of Freedom tribute with it as well. So we're going to have anywhere upwards of 150 to 300 vehicles escorting this wall into the town. And then once we get to the destination where we're going to set it up, it's going to take, 6, 8 hours with volunteers to get it set up. And then it's going to be open 7 days, or not 7 days a week, but 24 hours a day for the whole time that it's here. We had it last year or the year before in Shepherdsville. And I will tell you, people came from all around. People that have never been to DC to see the original wall come here. And then we had some veterans that didn't even get out of their vehicles because it was a long walk, they said. And if you get that reference, think of being a Vietnam veteran. You've never been to DC to see the wall there, and it's in front of you, but yet you still can't go there because your brother's name's on that list. So it's a long walk for them, and they just sit there and looked at the wall the whole time, which is, if that's what you want to do, if that's where you're comfortable, more than welcome. Come out, hang out, and just view the wall from a distance, and remember the times that you had while you were there in Vietnam, or any conflict, with the Cost of Freedom tribute, any conflict after Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Lebanon. It's all there. 9/11 tribute as well. So come out, and September 17th through the 20th in Mount Washington, Kentucky. It's going to be a great time. We're also gearing up for the Mogadishu Mile, Kentucky event, which will be October 3rd, I believe, this year. Either the 3rd or 4th. I can't remember. I think it's the 3rd. And it's going to be, last year we had 58 teams run that event. And that's an event to remember the 19 fallen at the Battle of Mogadishu. It's the only team event in the United States. Everywhere else is a solo event. We're the only team event. So super excited about that event as well. A lot of great veteran nonprofits are putting on events coming here around Kentucky. We do have them listed on our website. If I get sent them, I put them on the events page on our website, HomeFrontSitRep.com. So you can always go there, check that out. And if I happen to see it, then I'll put it on there as well. So super, super excited about that. If you notice, Gunny's not here tonight. Gunny just got out of the hospital last night. He texted me earlier today and said that he's still feeling weak, that he wasn't going to make it tonight. So if you are the praying type, go ahead and send Gunny some prayers just to make sure he's good to go. We need Gunny back on his feet for sure. Want to give everybody over on TikTok a big shout out. They're over here, but I want to pay attention to here for now. Awesome. So tonight we got a great guest coming on, guys. We have Colonel David Howe, or Dave Howe. I don't know which one he goes by, but we'll ask him. I say it's probably Dave, but he's probably named David. There's Chris. What's going on, Chris? Welcome in, brother. So he's not what you would call a celebrity officer. Colonel's not. He is a credible, experienced Army leader. 30 years in the Army. He did time with the 82nd Airborne Division, also with the 12th Special Forces Group. Then he went into the reserves and finished up his time in the reserves. And now he's, man, I tell you, let's see, built a powerhouse career spanning 30 years in professional service, including leadership roles with major firms like Deloitte Consulting. He helped generate billions in revenue, guided organizations through strategic and operational planning, and developed systems that have created real wealth and opportunity for others. And then he works also with the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation, and also his partnership with Ken Rusk Literary. So we're going to find out all kinds of good information today. So if you're out there, stick around. If you haven't said hello yet, go ahead and say hello and say where you're watching in from. Mr. Scott Lauer, how are you, sir? Welcome in, Scott. All right, so let's bring up Colonel up to the stage. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for affording me this opportunity. It's great to talk with you this evening. And
Yes,
it
sir.
is Dave, by the way.
Awesome. So my first name is David. My dad was Dave. So that's why I was asking. I was wondering if you go by Dave or David. So I always tell people when they call me Dave, like when we go out and they ask what my name is, I say David. And then 5 minutes later, like, hey, Dave. I'm like, no, my name's David. My dad was Dave. But anyway, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy time to come hang out with us. Here on HomeFront SitRep. If you don't mind, do me a favor. Introduce yourself to the world of HomeFront SitRep, if you don't mind.
Well, actually, your intro, I think, hit all the high points. So I won't double up on that. The one thing I will pivot off of is the reason I'm here tonight is hopefully a couple of things along my path will be of interest to your audience. And, having that dual career where I did 30 years in the military, I literally served in all three of the components. I started in the National Guard, went on active duty in the regular Army for over 11, and then I finished out my 30 in the Army Reserve. So there aren't a lot of us that have actually touched all three services in their career. And then the time that I've spent with professional services firms really was a great opportunity. Again, very much the kind of elite units that I had the pleasure in a number of cases serving with in my military career. And now I'm able to leverage both that military and professional services background as I work with the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation, which is a brand new foundation dedicated to providing a unique level of support to our Gold Star families. We literally are reaching out for the first time in the history of the brand new foundation to soldiers that were killed in Kuwait as part of the 103rd. We're also reaching out to the Ohio Guard that lost half the members of the tanker crew that went down going on 3 weeks ago. So this is really passionate work. And then on the Ken Rusk literary side, I'm using that same skill set to do things because on the Ken Rusk literary side, we actually charge for those services. The things to the Gold Star families are obviously with no charge, but we use profits from the for-profit side to help fund the foundation. So I'm, needless to say, still a very busy person, although you could say that I've obviously a long time ago retired from the active military, and I've transitioned my professional service focus to the foundation.
Yeah, they always say idle hands and veterans don't go, or idle minds and veterans don't mix very well. My wife will tell you I stay super busy, whether it's doing a podcast, doing my normal day job, or volunteering at one of the numerous nonprofits that I volunteer at, and I'm always looking for something extra to keep on my plate, just in case. Like if I ain't got nothing to do, I look for something else to do. So the foundation, the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation, is relatively new, and this is so it says here. I'm just going to go ahead and give a brief description of it. The Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation is a nonprofit organization that provides emotional and practical support to Gold Star families relatives of U.S. military service members who died in the line of duty. The foundation focuses on honoring fallen heroes and helping surviving families heal through remembrance, community, and well-being initiatives, which is super awesome because for the longest time, I got out of the Marine Corps in 2004 the second time, and I started volunteering at all these local nonprofits. One thing that I noticed over the course of that almost 20 years was Gold Star families, unfortunately, were shunned, basically, kind of, sort of. They're like, oh, well, you're not a veteran. We can't help you, which in turn caused a major spike. I'm going to say a spike in veteran spouse suicide, veteran parent suicide, veteran children suicide. And I think people have slowly, over the last maybe 10 years, have slowly said, hey, we need to, this is becoming an epidemic, like the 22 a day is becoming an epidemic. We need to focus on the families as well. And that's amazing because the way I looked at it, which I got married very young when I was in the Marine Corps, me and her didn't last. We were married 3 months and we separated. I caught her cheating on me after I came back from a deployment. So I didn't have kids while I was in the military. Got married after I got out the second time in 2004. My wife and kids never served with me while I was in, but they're serving with me now because of my PTSD, my hypervigilance, my anger issues that I have. They are serving in a different capacity than a normal child who mother or father deployed while they were, babies, or while they're, a little bit older. So they're serving in that capacity there because, they're doing things, keeping things at home, while mom or dad is deployed. What's going on, Rich LaMonica? How are you, sir? So they served in a different capacity, and a lot of people didn't focus on the spouse of the fallen service member. They didn't focus on the mom or dad or the aunts or uncles or the children of the fallen service member. And that's what I love seeing now is a lot more nonprofits or foundations are popping up to help focus on the Gold Star families out there because it's needed. It's definitely needed just as much as for us veterans.
Absolutely. And to piggyback off of your description there, which is incredibly accurate, one person told me that there's over 60,000 veteran support groups out there, everything from, basically single person, mom and pop kind of operations, new groups like ours, all the way up to, the Tunnel Towers, Wounded Warrior, DAV, and so on. So there's lots of opportunities out there to get some kinds of assistance. The niche that we're filling is, obviously it's a huge thing to have, a mortgage-free house. I mean, that takes usually most people, the number one expense in their budget is their housing. So if that's taken away, I mean, that just gives a level of financial slack in your system that, who can't love that? But all of these things, whether it's, mortgage-free house, one of these super high-tech wheelchairs that allow people to do all kinds of things that heretofore, they would have been very much more challenged to try and get around and move forward with their remaining life. But the thing that seems to be missing that we're providing as a result of this program is there really is no strategic framework to best leverage all of the programs that are out there. Most of the programs solve a tactical problem, housing, medical issues, et cetera. But the planning that we do is really a individual strategic plan. And it takes somebody and it forces them to look at their life in a holistic way and figure out, how, in the case of a Gold Star family, how do they turn that negative energy from the worst day in their lives into the fuel to create a plan so that they will move forward with hope and ultimately find themselves on a real joyful path through the rest of their days here on this earth. So that's the niche that we are operating in. And we even are in discussions to try and bring this to the active duty military and the veteran community so that everybody gets the benefit from the program. But the Gold Star families are the focus of the foundation as we currently stand today.
Well, that's awesome, because you're correct. Because like I know for me and my wife now currently, like if something happened to me or her, either one of us would have to sell the house because we couldn't afford it individually. And if you're serving in your country and it's a two income household, which a lot of military service personnel live off base. They don't live on base. And granted, some of them, are renting, some of them own. It just depends on, if they're going to be at that base for 20 years, or, they rotate, duty stations, periodically. So that would lift a heavy burden. It would, coming up with a formulated strategic plan to help each individual family, because that's something that's you mentioned with like nonprofits, whether they do equine therapy, whether they do Jeep therapy, whether they do whatever, that's their sole focus. Their sole focus is that. They don't care about anything else. They just care about, hey, let's do Jeep therapy or let's do this. Now, granted, some of them will incorporate the, like an overnight stay where you're sitting in tents and you're sitting around a bonfire late at night, which we know a lot of healing takes place there around that bonfire and being around other veterans. But when you're a Gold Star family, you don't really want to be around anybody else. You need somebody that can come in and say, all right, this is how we can help you guys. First, you figure out, you talk with the family and say, hey, this, tell us about you guys. And then you come up with a strategic plan to help, formulate a strategic plan to help that family carry on afterwards. I think that's super cool. And that's a niche that nobody's in right at this present moment in time. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah. What we envision in the way we assist the Gold Star families is allow the beginning phase of the grieving process, and there's a lot that's very scripted. I mean, the welcome home ceremony at Dover sort of kicks off all of that, and then it flows through funerals and memorials and all of those kinds of things. And the survivor assistance team is helping with, final pay, allowance. I mean, all of the, again, tactical kinds of things that a family has to go through to deal with that. But at some point, that process does have a end to it. The family is no longer gathered. Everybody's gone back, resuming their lives, and that tends to leave the Gold Star families with, now what? Yeah. And so we are trying to engage in that window where, as the funerals and everything that are required to get done is being concluded, that this is the time to move in and begin to walk them through the planning process where they identify, again, we start by going to the end of their life and saying, okay, your days are now coming to a close. Think about, what did you want to achieve with your life? And then we take those goals and turn that into their plan so that they, on that final day, they have nothing but great memories, wonderful relationships, and absolutely positively no regrets. And the only way you get there is to have a plan that takes you all the way through your life, that looks at all of the critical facets. So, you talked about if something happened to you or your spouse, housing is going to be an immediate problem. So you have those near end targets you have to engage, obviously. Yeah. But if you are able to come up with a holistic plan where you've got relationships figured out, some kind of spirituality, whether that's organized religion or anything else, any other way to tap into the spirit inside of each of us. You got to have solid financials. You put together a well-balanced plan that addresses all those key parts of your life so that while one of those may be struggling, your tent doesn't collapse because the only pole holding up your whole life has now suffered a dramatic setback, and you're now really struggling. And when you're in struggle mode, that's when you start wandering off onto bad things, alcohol, substance abuse, other ways of doing bad things that are not going to lead you to a joyful life.
Yeah. So I can tell you honestly right now, if something did happen to myself or my wife, I think we have a formulated plan. Like we work well, her and I work well together. Now, granted, she's the banker. She does all of that, right? She takes care of all the things that I don't take care of. And I take care of all the things that she don't take care of. So we work well together. And I think we have like all of our, I'm not going to even say this, but we know each other's passwords. We know if vital information, we know where all of that is. Like we have it all, formulated together. Like we have all of that. Of course, we got our life insurance. She's got life insurance, blah, 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 and all of that. So emotionally, if something happened to my wife, and not God forbid that it ever does, I would be a total disaster, because she is my tent post. She keeps my life in check. She keeps me in check. I don't. Granted, I have two daughters. They're 19 and 17. Both of them. One's already in college, so she only comes home on the weekends or every other weekend. The other one's getting ready to go to college when she graduates this year, and it's like, oh, what do we do now? We're at that point in life where we're like, oh, well, my wife said to me the other day, well, let's adopt. I was like, what are you talking about? We're at that point in life now where we can sit back and relax a little bit and not stress out over the little things that go on, like high school grades and stuff of that nature. Now we can just sit back and all right, let's wait for grandbabies in 10 years. We're not ready for grandbabies yet. My wife might be, but I ain't. 10 years from now, maybe. So yeah, you just gotta have that. You gotta have that. What's the word I'm looking for? You gotta have that clear vision for your life after service. And I think that's where you guys at the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation comes into play. So all right, let's ask this question. How do you guys reach out to people, or do they reach out to you? What's the steps there?
In some ways, you would think that it would be easy to offer something free to a family that is going through a crisis situation. But you can understand this too, there isn't a 1-800 number to call a Gold Star family. So, right. Working through the layers, the bureaucracy, the command structure to be able to get in front of the Gold Star families is turning out to be even a bigger challenge than I envisioned at this stage of the game. But you just start out giving essentially the kind of introduction that you provided earlier in the show as to what we're all about. The fact that we complement, we are not competing with in any way, shape, or form anything else that's out there. We are more than capable, and I've talked with, in many cases, people that have parts of this. I just spoke with a guy who I used to serve with. He was a clinical psychologist, and he worked for a gazillion decades with the VA. So between his military service and his VA service, he's probably got upwards of a century working with members of the military or the veteran community. and he's looked at our program. He basically has reviewed it so that I know we're on the right track and that we're approaching things correctly, so that we can engage with the families in a I look at it as n-hour sequence, going back to my days in the 82nd, where you get notified, your go bag's ready to go, and we are ready to move out as soon as we can get transportation to get into the area that the Gold Star families are at. So we are not the impediment to getting the initial conversation going.
Okay. I'm just wondering if there's a way. I think, well, I don't know. I don't know if you guys would want to go to bases and say, "Hey, this is kind of services we offer." I think that would be kind of like uh, superstitious, I guess. Like if you went to a unit and say, "Hey, you guys are deploying. If you don't make it back, kind of, you don't want to do that. You definitely don't." I think that would be very superstitious and bad juju, I think.
Yeah, actually, we fortunately are on the for-profit side advancing on a path where we want the program, basically the same program, to be part of the transition assistance program. So everybody
Okay.
leaving the military, whether by way of ETS or retirement, would go through this as just one of the things on their checklist that they need to do. But in this case, they will leave with a written plan that addresses all of the key facets that they think are key facets in their life, so that as they leave, they're not just focused on, what's my next job, or I'm going to college, or, getting through the relocation to a new part of the country. And that becomes their immediate target becomes the only target they engage. And then once they've accomplished that, then they're standing around going, well, now what? And
Yeah.
that tent pole starts collapsing on them, weeks to months after they've left the military. And at that point, they're truly on their own, subject to whatever kind of support group they've built, which is one of the most fundamental facets in anybody's program is, who's in the foxhole with you?
Yeah. So I got out in 2001, the first time, right before 9/11, and I had maybe an hour class of how to reacclimate to civilian sector. When I got out the second time in 04, I think it might have been maybe 6 hour kind of class. And so I don't really know much about the SEPs and TAPs that goes on in current military. I have a nephew that's currently active duty. He was at Fort Campbell. Now he's at Fort Knox. And I think he's getting ready to go to Fort Polk, Louisiana. But he hasn't went through that process yet. And everybody that we seem to talk to has been out for a while. So like I said, I don't know how really the SEPs and TAPs goes. But I think that would be cool because I do know when I got out, there was no plan. I had no plan. My plan was to spend 20 years in the military. I got out of the Marines because I was like, all right, I need to switch my MOS. In the Marines, once you're infantry, you're infantry. You can't switch. It's very, very hard to do. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go in the Army. I'm going to finish out my 20 in the Army. That was my plan in life. I got out the first time, talked to our armor recruiter. He said, oh, you got to wait your 90 days. 9/11 happened. Got sent back to Lejeune. Got out. Talked to the armor recruiter. Had it all in black and white because I wasn't getting lied to again the second time. Had it all, written 5 years in Germany, go from E5 to E6, $50,000 enlistment bonus, and going in to become a telecommunications specialist was what I wanted to do. Had it all black and white. Sent the paperwork up to MEPS. Doctor denied me. The same doctor who let me join the Marine Corps, same medical doctor, said, no, you can't join the Army. I was like, why? They said, because you had asthmatic symptoms as a child. You can't go in the Army. So we took it up to, we fought it up to a full bird colonel over recruiting. and still couldn't get no budge on it. Hindsight's 2020 looking back, but at that time, here I am. I'm 24-ish, maybe somewhere roughly around there. My life crumbled because my plan just went straight the kingdom come because I was career. That's what I wanted to do. I couldn't go back in the Marines because the Marines had changed the tattoo policy where if you had tattoos below your elbow, you couldn't re-enlist. And I already had the big Grim Reaper down there. And I was like, man, so my life just, but so I'm thankful that you guys are trying to get into that realm where you go on to the bases with Seps and Taps with the Ken Russ literary.
Mm-hmm.
That's an LLC though, so it's not a foundation.
Right.
So with the Ken Russ literary and teach and help these service members. I want to say servicemen, but I gotta say service members that are transitioning out on how to have goals and set plans so that their tent pole don't fall and that, you know, they wind up going down the rabbit holes of drinking alcohol or doing drugs or you know, going down that spiral and you know, going to prison or whatnot.
Yeah.
Or doing the unthinkable and becoming part of the 22. Because I know when I was there, I went down many rabbit holes. Now, granted, when I was in the Marine Corps, they said I was an alcoholic and they sent me to detox. So I didn't touch alcohol for almost 15 years after I got out, after they said, hey, you're an alcoholic. And even now, you know, here I am, 48 years old. I might drink twice a year, and it's 2 or 3 drinks and I'm done. Because I know in my mind that that's a slippery slope for me, that I could go right back down that rabbit hole that I don't need to go down. So I like the fact that you guys are with the Ken Russ going on to or trying to get into bases and being able to talk to, you know, the service members that are transitioning out. I think that's super cool.
Well, and another path that we're advancing on is the program can obviously be very helpful for all kinds of reasons for our veteran community too. But as the guy I was describing earlier that I serve with, that's the psychologist, he confirmed quickly that if you've just committed to a written plan for how you're going to optimize the remaining time you have on this earth, you're not going to go out the next week or the next month or even the next year and end your life.
Right.
You have restored the hope and given yourself enough faith and reason to continue to move forward, even if you haven't solved all the demons, even if you know, you're still, you know, your life has still got the same financial issues or whatever other things are nipping at your heels. But at least you now feel much more comfortable that you've got a reasonably expected plan to get to where you want to be in life. That vision of a bright future is absolutely out there for you too.
Right.
You more than earned it, and you just need to figure out how to fight your way to get to that objective.
All right. So the Ken Russ literary, is that the kenruss.com or is there another website?
Yeah. So kenruss.com gets you chapter and verse on our patron saint, Ken Rusk. And then veteransuccess.org will take you and give you more information that's more focused on the military applications, the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation.
Yeah. So I just put the kenruss.com in the website there. And then I'll go to the, you said, what was the other one?
Veteransuccess.org.
Veteransuccess.org. All right.
And those give you the general background information on both the organizations. If anybody has specific questions or needs, and particularly if anyone, because we will support Gold Star families, even if it's been a while since their worst day occurred. So If anybody has something specific, my email address is dhowe@kenruss.com. So my first initial is D, Delta, and last name HOWE.
Awesome. So I just put the veteransuccess.org up in the chat as well, and then I'll put your email in there as well. So, all right, let's talk about the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation real quick. So we're on the website. If you want to donate, this is for the people out there watching now or listening or whatnot later. You can go to veteransuccess.org. Up in the upper right-hand corner is a bright red button that says donate. I didn't click on it yet. There's also another one down here underneath the saying that says, will you help give our veterans a fresh start? And it says donate right below that as well. And then it goes into how are you changing lives? And then there's Ken Russ, Steve Despoth, you, Colonel David Howe is on there. Then you got Tim. I guess, are they brothers or related?
Father and son.
Father and son.
And the father actually was one of the first employees that Ken hired over 30 years ago.
Oh,
and
man.
He has grown with Ken's organization. He's basically his number 2 guy. And then his son went into the military, coming pretty much right out of high school, and then did a tour, came back, and is now working for one of the operations in the greater Toledo area.
Nice. And you can donate. There's several spots where you can click donate if you want to donate.
Yeah, it's not hard to find us to donate as long as you get to that website.
I like it. And then I was looking for, so on the website, there's not much about, unless it's, I was looking for like an about page or something on the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom, but there's not.
Yeah. Full disclosure, we're more focused on moving forward on the mission than our skills are not in the area of web site development. So we're a little thin, particularly on the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom one, because in some ways it was becoming repetitive of the other site. So in some cases, I think it may link you back to the other site. So one of my to-do projects is to upgrade significantly, particularly the site for the foundation. But it does give you the basics. It gives you what
it does.
It is, how to donate, and if you're interested in the course, there's ways to drill in, because every individual, you don't have to be in the military, you don't have to have issues, certainly don't have to be a Gold Star family. If you want, there's actually an online version of the course that costs a whopping $179, and it takes you through all the steps and leaves you with a written plan for your life.
Awesome. So I just put in 2 emails. So the first one's info@comfortpeacefreedom.com. And then I also put in your email, dhowe@kenruss.com as well. That way, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to you or the
Absolutely.
info and figure out more about it. And I think with the way society's going now, and everybody is seeing the epidemic amongst the Gold Star families, I think there's going to be an uptick in people wanting to help the Gold Star families, because I know there's a lot of great organizations out there. One off the top of my head is the Woody Williams Foundation. Woody was an amazing Marine. He's a Marine, and I tell you what, he didn't meet a Marine that he didn't love from the minute he met you. His grandsons, Brian and Brent Casey, they help. They're not, they're part of the organization, but they're not like the CEO, president, or anything like that. But it's still, they're continuing their grandfather's mission. He was being a Medal of Honor recipient, Herschel, with Herschel Woody Williams, carrying on his legacy where they put up Gold Star monuments across the United States. It's an awesome mission to honor and remember the fallen. But here you're trying to help the family in a whole different direction with the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom foundation. So I think that's super cool. I think that's super cool, my friend.
It is absolutely a wonderful way to capstone my years of service. Every day is a great day. The people I work with are fantastic, because it's those that have been in the military, most probably would say that they really, really enjoyed the people.
Yeah.
They may or may not have had a great experience in the military, depending on where they served, what happened, and so on. But I think most people will have at least one or two relationships that they're like, that person, even if they've lost touch, still means an awful lot to them.
Oh yeah.
That's ultimately what we're trying to do. And I'm just grateful every day that I can be back in the company of the people that are keeping our country safe.
I'm right there with you. Like, I didn't have a bad experience while I was in the Marines. I didn't have like what you would call a superstar Marine experience. You know, I had an average Marine experience, and there was great times, there was bad times, and you know, I served with two different units, and I got friends from both. Like my co-host Gunny, we met in boot camp, and you know, we served together for our first 3 years, and then we lost track. And powers of Facebook, we reconnected, and it's like we never missed a beat. You know, we picked up kind of where we left off, and that's that brotherhood. That's that brotherhood when you share that fighting hole with somebody, or you're in the trenches, no matter your job, in the trenches with them. Um, you build that bond, and it's an unbreakable bond, which is super cool. And then when you get out of the military, you lose that sense of camaraderie, that sense of purpose, and then that's where you guys are trying to rebuild that with the Ken Russ literary program, and also the Comfort, Peace and Freedom Foundation as well. I think that's super neat, and I think a lot of people will see the benefit from what you guys are trying to do. I think it's super cool. So I think that's super cool. So is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to touch on, sir?
You know, there's lots of ways to continue to drill into this topic. You know your audience best. If there's a final closeout question that you have, maybe we can wrap that way. Otherwise, you know, they teach you in officer school on day one, you know, if you're given an opportunity to talk. I never really bought into that line of logic too much. I kind of figured if I didn't have something I needed to really say, then, you know, no, I'm good. But I can definitely put a capstone on this if you need one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what else to talk about. I mean, we've kind of reached everything that we could talk about with it. So you said the Comfort, Peace and Freedom Foundation is relatively new. You are a 501c3.
Yep.
Let's see. Just trying to think if I'm missing. So right now you're focused on just the Gold Star families with the foundation, but you're hoping to transition that into different avenues in the future. So right now you're focused on Gold Star families, and then, so we discussed that. Let
me tee this up, and then if it works, then we can use that as the closing. If not, maybe it'll generate a way to wrap this up with a nice bow. But we've talked a lot about the importance of having that written plan, because studies have shown that people that have a written plan that they're following, they keep posted, you know, on their refrigerator door, on their mirror in their bathroom, someplace where they see it and keep it fresh. My daughter keeps it on her phone as her screensaver, because both my son and daughter have gone through the program to show that everybody is able to go through this. Because quite frankly, the reason everybody should go through this is there's an old saying, failing to plan is planning to fail. And it doesn't matter what part of life you're in, what direction you're going. You really do need to have it pretty well laid out as to how you're going to get there and then the flexibility to be able to adapt, because obviously no plan survives first contact. We learned that very early in our military careers, and it's very true everywhere else in life. You have to have a developed plan B, as you found out with your experience, where your plan, got blown up in your face, and then it was sort of like, oh boy, now what? So
Yeah.
there's no substitute for adequate planning. Spoken as a operations officer of almost 30 years.
I tell my daughters all the time, poor planning leads to piss poor performance. I tell my daughters that all the time. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, if you poor plan, whether it's time management, whether it's whatever, it's going to lead to poor performance. Whether it's sports, whether it's school, whether it's day-to-day life situations. If you poorly plan, you're going to have poor performance. And I try to teach that. I try to instill that into them at a very young age. And I always tell them, practice is perfection. That's what I was always taught. Practice is perfection. My youngest daughter, she thought she knew everything. She goes, Daddy, nobody's perfect. And I'm like, baby, the more you practice, the better you get. And I think she finally caught on later on in life. But it is what it is. So I do like that, and we do learn that early on in our military career, that always have a backup plan. So my 20 years at the company that I work for right now currently is coming to a wind in the near future. So this podcast, been doing it for 3 years. This is my retirement thing. This is what I'm gonna do when I retire. This is my backup plan. I've already started on it now, so I can get a jump start. But yeah, I want to say thank you to your team for reaching out to me and said, hey, we got a guy that that would be amazing for your show. I think a lot of service members out there, whether veteran, whether active duty, there's a lot of information here that they would benefit from, because I'm assuming anybody can go through the Ken Russ program, no matter how long you've been out of the military.
Yep, you can go online and get the online version through kenruss.com. There's actually a drop down for military. Gives a slightly different packaging of the material that's more slanted towards a military audience. And then if you want, people can actually go out, and if they buy on their favorite bookstore, Ken's book, Blue Collar Cash, which the name hides half the book. He does talk about the virtues of blue collar living and all of that, but half the book literally is the step-by-step you need to end up with a written plan. So you can spend, $18-20, whatever it is, on Amazon these days, and most people can probably follow that and get themselves their own plan, or a good solid draft on it.
Heck yeah. I got a whiteboard that I put stuff down on. It goes to my phone first when I think of it, and then it goes to my whiteboard. And it's like, all right, that's where I need to be. So definitely. Well, sir, I want to say thank you again for coming out and hanging out with me for this hour. Great information. This episode will be aired on Reach Across America Radio this Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. It is live on our YouTube channel at this present moment in time. Also Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live. And I'll upload the audio later tonight to all the platforms, so the audio will be out there as well. But I do want to say thank you for coming out and hanging out with us.
My pleasure. All the best to you and your audience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It was great.
Thank you, sir. You have a great night.
You too. Take care.
You too. Ladies and gents, how cool was that? Let me do this. I'm going to fix this. There we go. Let's do that. That way HomeFront SitRep's right below me. Anyway, how cool was that? So check out kenruss.com. Also check out, where's the other? www.veteransuccess.org. check that out as well. If you want to help support their mission in supporting Gold Star families, click on that donate button. Donate $1 here, $5, $10, whatever you can afford. Every penny helps support Gold Star families out there, and it helps slow the epidemic that is becoming, or yeah, stop it from becoming an epidemic, because the suicide rate amongst the Gold Star families, unfortunately, is climbing. I think they said somewhere around, I don't even want to give numbers because don't want to say it wrong. But the numbers are alarming. You can Google it, and it will tell you what the numbers are. So go check it out, and go support a organization, whether it's this organization here, the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom Foundation, or any other Gold Star Family Foundation out there, because that's where it needs. Unfortunately, we've spent too much money as a country on awareness for veteran suicide, but not enough money on actually taking action to stop veteran suicide. We all are aware of what's going on within the veteran community. We just need more people to take action and walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So definitely do that. Um, we're about that time of night, my friends, and Gunny's not here. Gunny is not here to do his words of wisdom. So I'm going to do it for Gunny. Y'all ready for that? All right, here we go.
Gunny's Words of Wisdom.
Willis's words of wisdom. All dreams come true if we have the courage to pursue them. I'm going to say that again. All dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And that was Walt Disney. Good old man, because that guy, he was a genius. He was a genius. All right, let's do. All right, here we go.
It's time for the joke of the day.
All right. What happened when the ice cream cone and cheesecake abandoned their fellow soldiers? I'm going to read it again. What happened when the ice cream cone and cheesecake abandoned their fellow soldiers? They were wanted for desertion. Dessert with a "n" on the end of it. I know, not funny. I know. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Anywho, that was the words of wisdom and the veteran joke of the day. All right, here we go. You are not alone. This right here. In the silence of your struggles, remember, though unseen, you are deeply held in the hearts of others. You are not alone. The uniform may come off, but the bond remains. And together we heal, together we rise, and together we carry each other forward. So, yeah, don't let your dark days win. Reach out to somebody. You're not alone. This right here, we talk about it on every episode of HomeFront SitRep. Hashtag be someone stranger. Listen, we as humans, we're more apt to talk to a complete stranger than the ones we love the most. So be someone stranger today. When you're out and about and you see somebody and it looks like they're having a bad day, go up to them and ask them how they're doing. And if they give you the red flags, I'm okay, I'm hanging in there, I'm living the dream, ask the next hard question. How are you really doing? But be ready for that conversation, because it could be a 5-minute conversation, could be an 8-hour conversation. And don't try to fix them. A lot of times we as humans, we just want to vent what's going what's going on. We just want somebody to listen to our frustrations. And you never know. You might save that person's life. You never know. So be someone's stranger and ask the next hard question. And then it takes a village. Listen, ladies and gents out there, it takes a village. Find your tribe, whether it's the Marine Corps League, whether it's the American Legion or the Veterans of Foreign War Post, whatever. Find your tribe, whether it's a mom and pop grassroots nonprofit, whether it's whatever. Find your tribe. And we all have our tribe right here. This thing right here. This is our tribe. I have over 2,000 contacts on my phone. Some of them I haven't talked to in 10 years. So open up your contacts, close your eyes, scroll, stop it. Whoever it lands on, give them a call. Talk to them. If they don't answer, leave a message. Hey, man, this is Willis. Just calling in, check on you. Do it again. Close your eyes, scroll, land, call until you talk to somebody on the other end. You never know. That person might need you today. Also, check out SOF. All right, so we're in our community partners now, not sponsors, just our community partners. Check out sofmissions.org. Dr. Damon Freeman and his wife, they created a amazing nonprofit down in Tampa. 365 days of care once you leave property. So you're down there for 5 days initially, or 3 days, depending on if you do the retreat or the clinic. After you leave, you get an individual care plan, and they call and check on you once a week, every 2 weeks, whatever you need. And if you can't, follow up and you need help, you call them, say, hey, I've been trying to get in to see the chiropractor or the massage therapist or uh, uh, whatever medical profession you need, or you need new supplements. They will help you for 365 days once you leave property. Amazing organization. So check out sofmissions.org. Up next is heroesmediagroup.com. This is Adam Bird and his team there at Heroes Media Group. HomeFront SitRep has been a proud HMG family member for 2 years, a little over 2 years now. Phenomenal. And it keeps growing every day. We keep adding new podcasters onto the HMG network, and everything else that we got going on with the Military Creator Con and everything else. So check out heroesmediagroup.com. Up next is Reese Across America Radio. That is, you can find them at www.reaseacrossamerica.org/radio. HomeFront SitRep is a proud partner with Reese Across America Radio. You can find us on Thursday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern. That's Thursday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern. Up next is Same Flag, Same Oath.com. We have a co-branded shirt. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. It says Marine It Down. It's written in red crown. Uncle Sam is wearing it back there. If you can see Uncle Sam, he still hasn't washed it yet. But you can go to sameflagsameoath.com, hit co-branded, go down to find Marine It Down there. And the good thing about this shirt, it is co-branded. So at the end of the year, all the sales that are generated from this shirt, HomeFront SitRep gets a 25% in all sales. Once we get that check, we're going to take all these nonprofits, put them on a wheel. Whoever it lands on gets that check. We don't keep it. We don't keep a dime of that. All right, let's take that off. Let's go down to the next one. EliteEngraving24.com. This is a small veteran-owned company here in Campbellsburg, Kentucky, which is in between Gunny and myself. So north central-ish Kentucky from here, up 71, I believe. They created this amazing hat, which is a Richardson 112. We have our red HomeFront SitRep patch for Remember Everybody Deployed, so you can wear it on Friday. And the Richardson, you can get any style that they have, and they have a bunch of them on the website that you can pick from. Come on, TikTok. So you can go to EliteEngraving24.com. Up next is Valor Coins and Pins. We talked about them just a few minutes ago. This is Brent and Brian Casey, the grandsons of Medal of Honor recipient Herschel Woody Williams. 10% of all sales from Valor Coins and Pins go back to the Woody Williams Foundation. So go check out Valor Coins and Pins. Up next is rdcshoes.com. That's rdcshoes.com. Go give them a check. They have the Patriot, they have the Folds of Honor, they have the Glory. They also are, they just now with Valor Coins and Pins and RDC Shoes just became part of the America's 250. So that's super awesome as well. So go check out rdcshoes.com. Marine Corps veteran Darren Davis created RDC Shoe Company with his family. So go check out rdcshoes.com. Last but not least, check out HomeFront SitRep.com. You can see all these veteran nonprofits, all these veteran business owners, veteran singers, you name it, all on the website. So go check it out. HomeFront SitRep.com. But that's the end of the night, my friends. And like we say on Homefront SitRep, stay safe out there. We got your six. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find HomeFront SitRep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Stay safe out there. I got your six.